Pharmaceutical Sciences at Athlone Institute of Technology. Our courses in Pharmaceutical Sciences within the Department of Life and Physical Sciences at Athlone are enumerated on CAO AL840 and AL734. So it's CAO time. Decisions have to be made. What course should I choose? Which college should I apply to? These are tricky decisions. Sometimes we need help. That's the purpose of today's presentation. It can be very difficult to make a decision about our future. We may be working at a particular profession for a number of decades, even if we decide to change. Nevertheless, it's worth bearing in mind the wealth of opportunities which AIT can provide to you. What's really important is that we plan for the future and that we take and assimilate all the information that we can and that we can make an informed decision. So we make up our minds to suit us. Of course, in Ireland, we're very familiar with third level education. It's extremely important to us. Indeed, we have the highest participation rate in the developed world. This is something to be proud of. Why would I consider studying the pharmaceutical sciences? So the pharmaceutical sciences is the preeminent technology industry for Ireland. It attracts a huge level of foreign direct investment. It's really important to our future. It's really worthwhile for the country to host 10 of the world's top 10 pharmaceutical companies. And these help with, for instance, important exports and, of course, in the provision of well-remunerated positions. Within AIT, our Level 8 offering in the Pharmaceutical Sciences is AL840. This is a 4-year ab initio program. It is also possible to study the Pharmaceutical Sciences, also ab initio, but for 3 years, AL734. Indeed, it is also possible to enter the Pharmaceutical Sciences one rung lower and to study for a higher certificate in applied science at level 6. Upon successfully completing this 2-year offering, one can transfer into AL734 or subsequently AL840 and progress through 3 awards at level 6, 7, and 8, should you wish to do so. Alternatively, you could switch to another science program for which you were eligible. Of course, you could also migrate to a different institution. AL840. The points in 2020 were 347. So this is not insignificant. It is, however, perfectly achievable with determination. You also need the following minimum requirements: grade H5 at higher level in 2 subjects, plus grade 06 or H7 in 4 other subjects. And of course, remembering you must have a language. It is also possible for people coming from level 5 awards on the QQI system, as long as they have a distinction grade in 3 modules and they have a satisfactory achievement in mathematics. For those interested in our 3-year offering, AL734, this course subtitled Drug Development and Analysis. So this is the ordinary degree. Here, the 2020 points were 244. Minimum entry requirements were grade 06 at ordinary level in 5 subjects in the Leaving Certificate, once again with a language requirement, and once again we're more than happy to see level 5 awardees entering as long as they are appropriately qualified in mathematics. So just to recap, the ladder system. The QQI, the National Framework for Qualifications, is laid out here on the right-hand side. So we see that universities primarily offer programs at levels 8, 9, and 10, sometimes at level 7. And of course, the Institutes of Technology come in at level 6, But notice, they also progress the whole way through the award system up to level 10. So it's possible to come in the doors of an institute like AIT and stay for 4 years of an undergraduate program, graduate with a level 8, and then progress into postgraduate studies, or indeed higher research, such as PhD at level 10, this being the highest level of award in our country. So, pharmaceutical sciences. What type of industry are you being prepared for? Well, Ireland has an unenviable and unrivaled reputation as the location of choice for biopharmaceutical manufacturing. We have industry, quite a large proportion of which are located in Athlone. Nevertheless, no matter where you reside in the country, there will be opportunities. Indeed, there are some 75 companies who work in the pharmaceutical space active in Ireland. These produce 65 billion. There are a large number of career opportunities available, and we have approximately 27,000 people working in each of the pharmaceutical and medical devices sectors in the country. So it's a very dynamic industry with lots and lots of job opportunities, and there seems to be no end to the number of companies who are interested in locating and who put their money where their mouth is and invest in Ireland with a view to opening new plants so as to manufacture and increasingly, interestingly, and thankfully, develop new products. So, pharmaceutical sciences in AIT. What are the advantages, or why would you come to AIT as opposed to anywhere else? Our course is accredited. We'll talk more about that later on. We have very favorable staff to student ratios, so you're never far away from a lecturer to whom you can ask a question. We have a high quality staff, a large number of whom are industry experienced. We offer personal tutors for those subjects where you might need a little bit of extra assistance, especially if you haven't studied it for the Leaving Certificate. We foster progression from higher certificate to PhD level. Our laboratory classes are famous throughout the country. These are within the laboratory itself, where you get to develop a skill in your own hands. We do, however, also have a virtual learning network, this being Moodle, which is a repository for all lecture materials. Ordinarily, lectures are face-to-face, but if, for instance, we have to do some online lecturing, these can be hosted via the Moodle system on Zoom. In terms of resources, we're fortunate to have recently developed new laboratories, and these are quite spacious and safe to work in. Nevertheless, we haven't been resting on our laurels. There are plans to put in place a new STEM building, and we anticipate that this will be available in 2024. Within our programs, we have a tried and tested continuous assessment model. This is extremely useful for those students who are determined to accumulate marks throughout the whole year and not to have to rely on terminal examinations. Of course, yes, there are terminal examinations, but these become much less stressful when you've already got quite a range of marks in the bank. We constantly strive to purchase new instruments. We're fortunate enough as well to have a number of contacts within the industry. We regularly receive instrumentation donations from some companies. We are centrally located, obviously, and we are committed to the region and in supporting all high technology industries therein. We operate peer-reviewed QA systems. So this works across all manner of disciplines, from, for instance, external examiners to course industrial advisory boards. And these are just sample aspects of what keeps our provision modern, current, and relevant. We place great pride in our inclusive ethos. I think it goes without saying that any student who has passed through the doors of AIT will always remember the friendliness of the institute. and the importance which they felt upon being a valued member of our student community. Of course, we also have something else to look forward to. We anticipate forming a new technological university with our colleagues in the Institute of Technology, Limerick, in the next year. Not to be sneezed at, Athlone has a very competitive cost of living. Of course, it can also be accessed from all parts of Ireland relatively quickly, thanks to efficient public transport and, of course, the motorway system which bisects this town. Back to one of the first reasons for studying pharmaceutical sciences at AIT. We have both national and international recognition and accreditation. So AL 840 is recognised for professional graduate admission of the Institute of Chemistry of Ireland, this being the designated letters Grad ICI. Also, we enjoy the prestige of having AL 840 as been the sole Irish accredited programme by the Academy of Pharmaceutical Sciences, this being the UK-based body for professional membership for pharmaceutical scientists. So this is an extremely valuable string to our bow. It was very hard won, and we're quite proud of it. And we anticipate that we will be accredited into the future. Of course, there is also free student membership of the APS for students of this program. So back to the industry itself. What type of industry might you be working in if you successfully complete our program? So as indicated earlier, we have a large export provision from this country. We have a very large number of pharmaceutical companies, including all of the world's major players. We have a very large number of people in employment, and these work across the small molecule, drug product, and biologics sectors. The industry also acts in support of the indirect employment of an equivalent number of people. It contributes hugely to the Irish payroll. It contributes a huge amount of corporation tax to the country every year. And it continues to attract high levels of investment. From your point of view as potential students, it's instructive that if you go working in the industry, on average, half the people that you work with will be third-level graduates. Furthermore, it's likely that the vast majority of them will be between the age groups 25 to 44 years. So it's a very young, dynamic industry. Of course, Ireland is famous for its consistently low corporation tax. The more important word there, however, is consistent, because this has never really deviated. And this is very attractive to the industry. Industry, and especially industry focused on investments, wants to be positioning itself and investing its money in a country which is stable and for which it's not going to draw down any nasty surprises in the future. Here within our own region, we have a large number of companies, including Abbott, for instance, and these are a large number of our graduates work there, and this is a very dynamic setting. Ireland punches way above its weight in terms of size within this industry. This graph here shows, while it's not quite as significant as the United States in terms of manufacturing, it pretty much matches the rest of the world when it comes to locations for sites which manufacture drug products which are being newly sold on the marketplace. So although it's a simple graphic, it's really important at providing reassurance that this industry isn't going anywhere anytime soon. The industry enjoys quite a high profile in Ireland. This is not the same as its profile in other countries. For instance, in the United States, it has long been saddled or lumbered with quite a negative perspective on behalf of the population. Perhaps it's no surprise that people making investment decisions choose to locate in a country where the industry is well regarded. People often ask, how long will this last? Well, the chances are it will continue. This is a graphic over the past 3 decades or so, showing us the number of new drug molecules discovered every year. We can see that it's quite consistent. Yes, there were 2 exceptional years, but by and large, we have on average approximately 2 to 3 dozen new drugs discovered every year. Remember that a drug which is discovered takes approximately 12 years to bring to market. What goes on during these 12 years? A large amount of work to do with confirmation of safety, efficacy, and in parallel, validation work and analytical development work, process development, process validation. These are all activities which require technical competencies as provided by our course provision in the Pharmaceutical Sciences. So there's quite a large amount of work to be done before a company can seek authorization to market a new drug product. Companies don't just make drug products, they're also concerned about the future and with integrating their inventions with new enabling technologies. For instance, increasingly, drugs are being incorporated both as small molecules and as cell-based therapies within medical type devices. They're also been increasingly overlapping with diagnostics. Indeed, you can often get a situation where all these things overlap with each other, and whereupon a medical device might even be communicating with the physicians outside the patient's body, whilst at the same time controlling the release rate of a drug within the patient, enabling them to recover more efficiently and with fewer side effects. What about you yourself if you do this program? What way can it benefit you as a person? Well, it's quite a challenging course. There's no doubt about that. You're going to be busy. Because of the challenges which you will face in doing so, you will have to become adept at managing your time, at managing the information which is provided to you, and yet completing your assignments and projects. You, of course, will be a scientist, and you will learn all about the scientific method. You will learn about modern instrumentation. You won't just learn it, however, you will become competent and you will become confident in using it. You will develop ability to integrate with many specializations across the sciences. You will develop quantitative capabilities. You will develop a logical problem-solving perspective, and you'll be able to put all this down in written reports, which you will have to prepare in such a way that you can communicate not just to fellow scientists, but also to non-scientists with whom you might be working in the future. This is all important if you're going to be an effective team player. You will need to develop initiative. This will be fostered by the staff and the challenges they pose to you. Of course, you will also develop IT skills, communication skills, and the ability to present and defend your findings in the laboratory or in your research. Also, if this all seems a little bit daunting because you might be reading this as a mature student, well, don't be put off. There's a little story here which shows how one former mature student came to preside over the whole pharma research sector by winning an important prize just recently. Of course, when you graduate, where will you work? What will you do? How much will you earn? Well, if you follow the career trajectory, which many of our graduates have done over recent years, you will see or hopefully aspire to positions such as QA/QC supervisor, qualified person, quality manager, or director of quality, even higher than that again. And you can see there that there are quite significant remunerations available for some of these responsible positions. That's not to say that you can just trot up and earn this. You will have to earn it. Now, Within Athlone itself, we have quite a large range of pharmaceutical companies. I have some of them mentioned here. I haven't even mentioned all of them. Also, quite adjacent to the town, we have quite a few other companies, both within the pharmaceutical and indeed in the medical devices sector. And these are all quite aggressive companies at seeking to employ our graduates. We enjoy a sterling reputation among these employers. So I mentioned earlier on about the time it takes to get a drug approved. And I just thought it was instructive at this point to tell you that there's quite a large range of scientific disciplines involved in getting a drug molecule approved. Of course, the molecule has to be discovered. We need to define new ways of synthesizing it or making it. It then has to be formulated into a medicine. This medicine then has to be administered to patients participating in clinical trials, but only after successfully negotiating additional safety studies, both in healthy human volunteers and earlier again in some animal models, and indeed earlier again in some cell-based models. So we will get to learn about the trajectory of a drug molecule passing through all of these steps, whilst in parallel learning about the technologies behind developing these new medicines all the way up to drug approval. And we'll also learn about how to submit a regulatory dossier to a regulatory agency, such as the European Medicines Agency in Amsterdam, for instance, with a view to getting a new therapeutic approved for the marketplace. Now, back to the student again. What about the technological competencies which you might develop? I did suggest earlier on that you are going to get some new skills put into your hand. So we will learn, for instance, how medicines are made, how to make them. We will also develop analytical skills, which will enable us to determine what's in a medicine. Of course, this is important for research and quality control. And we will also learn, for instance, how to assay how much drug is in a product. We will learn lots of other things as well. I'll show you some practicals in a moment, but these are the fundamental requirements for a pharmaceutical scientist learning their trade in the laboratory. A little bit more detail now, just some sample experiments in the pharmaceutical sciences. So we might be charged with the responsibility for confirming the absence or detecting the presence of impurities in a drug. To do this, we would need access to an extensive range of chromatography and spectroscopic equipment. We have all of this in AIT. We might also learn about new methods for efficiently designing and manufacturing drug substances, or APIs, active pharmaceutical ingredients. We would then seek to learn about how to transform these into medicines, this being dosage form design. Taking such a medicine, we can then carry out experiments to measure how quickly the drug is released from its drug product matrix. And indeed, we might also look at models for cell culture models for biopharmaceuticals, preparations and characterization. We are proud that we have a comprehensive suite of laboratory instrumentation. These approaches are supported by theory, but also we learn the methodologies and the real-world practical applications for this apparatus. So no 2 days will be the same in the laboratory when you're with us. You will learn how to characterize drug substances and drug products, and you will end up with some written reports which you have to furnish to your lecturers on a regular basis. Sometimes people might look at, an industry which is based in many instances on white powders, and they might say, well, how much can you learn about that? So this is quite a busy slide. I think it's instructive because it shows us that there's a huge array of biological, chemical, and physical, and also mechanical and thermal properties, which a drug substance has to be assessed under. So there is no shortage of work, there is no shortage of experiments which need to be conducted, and a wide array of skills which can be accumulated by the prospective student. Should you find a subject somewhat tricky, especially in years 1 and 2, we can organize tutorials, and these are held regularly in small groups so that you can catch up with a theoretical concept which is proving challenging to you. Within our schedules themselves, across year 1, for instance, we look at the core scientific disciplines: chemistry, biology, physics, mathematics, etc. Now, these are in the process of transforming into 5 credit modules, one for each semester. And these will be augmented with additional modules, which are themselves 5 credits, which are taught on 1 semester. Similarly, in year 2, we have some modules which are transforming from 10 credit offerings into 2 5-credit offerings. So for chemistry, chemistry 2, 1 in the first semester and 1 in the second semester. It's worth noting here that semester 1 examinations in AIT take place before the Christmas break. So this means that you have your exams all out of the way. You can go and relax over the Christmas holidays and return in semester 2 with your semester 1 subjects fully complete, and you start into a new challenge in January. Year 3 and indeed year 4 are all 5 credit based. So we see here a wide array of subjects within which we learn about the drug substance, the analytical determinations and characterizations which are necessary, the underpinning theories for the drug substance and their transformation into viable drug products. We learn about the scientific apparatus. And of course, we also learn about the use of materials other than the drugs themselves, which go into the provision of a medicine. We also learn things like professional and transferable skills for pharmaceutical scientists. So you may ask about this, but this is perhaps the #1 module which industrialists speak to about, because they're really on a module such as this, because it helps our graduates hit the ground running. And we also learn about pharmaceutical statistics, for instance, which enables us to assess the increasingly data-rich world within which we populate and make appropriate decisions. Now, stage 4, 4th year, final year. Of course, as in most programs in Ireland, there is a final year project at play here. So this becomes quite an important aspect of students' life, but it is important to realize that, big and all as it is just 10 credits. So for instance, we still continue with our studies of a wide array of other modules. Now, these are quite specialized: pharmacognosy, drugs as natural products, regulatory affairs, how to convince the authorities that your drug is safe and efficacious and of good quality. And yet we don't forget the science. We look at API discovery and characterization and metals in medicine. So these are important subjects whereby we constantly study aspects of the relationship between structure and a drug's activity. We also learn in subsequent subjects about how to do things like scale up a viable pharmaceutical synthesis. We also look to the future. The future means that we have to be able to avoid things like trial and error approaches, that we have to be able to design in quality, hence the subject experimental design and validation. We also need to consider aspects of the future to do with new medicines and where the industry is going. And that's why we study medical devices and advanced therapies. So, quite a wide array of subjects. It's quite a busy program. You may have noticed there as well that we don't at the moment offer a placement. So this may be changing in the future. It's a little bit uncertain, especially in the era of the pandemic. But it is important to realize that all of these modules are there. They're not just on the shelf. They are live and being taught right at the moment. So therefore, there's no attempt by us to backfill, for instance, for those students who are disappointed at not securing a placement because of the current pandemic situation, for instance, or perhaps people who had to do a placement from home. So rather, we will be continuing with the format of education across each of these disciplines. It's worth bearing in mind as well that this is just for 4 years, and your career will stretch for decades ahead of you. So, AIT for the year 2021 and its intake. This is the second consecutive year that AIT has finished the top of all of the institutes in the country. In 2020, we were the Institute of Technology of the Year. This year, we're still in that position as the lead institute in the country. So we came to this position just a few short years ago, and we don't intend to fall back down the league table anytime soon. Among the reasons why students are really keen to come to us is because of our campus culture, our student-centered ethos. And these favorable commendations by our graduates and indeed our students are among the reasons why we continue to prosper at the top of the Sunday Times table for higher education institutions in Ireland. So I thank you very much for listening to me today. I hope you've learned something useful, and I do hope to see you around the campus next semester. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.